By the way, this video is sponsored by Owned.tv, your one-stop shop for all your stream design needs. So if you're looking for new alerts, overlays, panels, really anything for your channel, they've got a massive library of beautiful designs, including the Minimal series one you're looking at right now, which is one of my favorites. And one of the best parts about it is that their designs are modular. So if all of your friends pick up the same overlay, you can each pick and choose different parts that you want to use, and none of you will have identical overlays. So if you'd like to make the smart move, feel free to use the link in the description below. That link also supports the channel when you use it. And if you'd like 40% off, use code ALPHA at checkout. This is going to be one of those videos where I need to get a little bit vulnerable on camera with you, because it's something that I feel is important, but kind of emphasis on the word feel. This is very much something coming from me, and there are going to be people that don't agree with it. There might even be some people who get their feelings hurt. But being in the position I'm in, the content I make on this channel, I experience something that most people just don't experience. There was something that was spoken about briefly, and I feel got brushed over really quickly and deserved a little bit more explanation. A couple weeks ago when I was doing a live stream with Devin Nash, and we used some of those clips and threw them up on YouTube later, because we always have really great industry talks. But something that didn't make it to YouTube that got brushed over really quickly in the live stream was he mentioned one of his least favorite things anybody ever says to him. And that was, "Can you give me some tips?" And we talked about it for a little bit, very briefly, and I agreed with him, but I feel like we didn't get to explain that. All that did was discourage people from asking for help, since there's something behind it. And I wanted to give a fair explanation of what that is to help encourage you to make the right steps moving forward. I own the Alpha Gaming channel. I started it 3-4 years ago. It took years to get anything to take off here, but it was originally made to be a resource for streamers to find anything they need, whether that is streaming tech reviews, whether that's PC builds, whether that's social media strategies. This and the over 100 videos on this channel are free information for you to then search through, take what you need, and run with it and see where you can go. I also started the Alpha Gaming Discord, which has over 60,000 members. It is the top Discord in the education category if you go into Explore, full of people that are interested and kind and want to meet and help each other. I have 60,000 members in there, and I literally never post when I'm going live unless it's like a big charity event, because it's not supposed to be for me. It's supposed to be a resource for you. So when people email me and they say, "Hey, can you give me some tips?" It's not that I'm like, this guy didn't even watch my YouTube video. It's just that 99% of the time when people do that, they've either made 1 video, 2 videos, or most of the time 0 videos. It's not that they're looking for help. There's a deeper problem there, because those tips already exist on this channel, in that Discord. These are resources that I didn't have because I hadn't made them yet. And when someone sends an email asking for tips without trying first, what they're saying isn't, "Hey, I need tips." What they're saying is, I'm afraid to fail. If you're asking for these tips before you even get started making content, what you're hoping for is a clear path, a road that if you walk down this road, you will succeed. And the problem is that that road doesn't exist. This job is not like any other job. This job is a job of trial and error. You have to be willing to fail hundreds of times before you're gonna get it right. I streamed for like 5 people for like 2 to 3 years before I finally figured out what I was doing wrong. I tried putting together a pro team. I tried getting a house of gamers. I got an investor who then pulled out 3 months later because he didn't feel like I was focused enough. But really what I was doing was trying something and recognizing where it failed, and then trying something else and then recognizing where it failed, and then trying something else and then recognizing where it failed. That is what it takes to be a content creator, is to be willing to fail. And the more times you fail, the more you've learned what not to do, more than other creators. If you're reaching out before you're willing to fail even once, what you're not asking for is some help. What you're asking for is a boss. And some people really like having a boss. Some people really like having set things for you to do that day. And if you do those things, you get paid. I get that. That is a totally fair and valid mindset, and I respect it. It does not work for content creation. You have to forge your own path. You have to figure it out. And if what you're looking for is a boss, what you might need is a job, like a 9-to-5, a job with a boss and coworkers at a store or whatever. And that is a perfectly fine, fulfilling life for a lot of people. But I'm telling you this not to discourage anybody who has asked for extra help. I love doing just chatting in my live streams, link in the description below. I love answering questions and thinking critically and picking out my favorite ones. Questions are good as long as you are attempting to find the answer yourself at the same time. I'm telling you this because I want you to succeed. And if you're going to succeed on YouTube, on Twitch, doing social media content creation in any form, you need to be willing to fail. That's the only way you're going to become creative. So to give you some real action items in this video that you can take and try for yourself, it's not just an abstract idea. What I did is I wrote down 5 ways that I boost the creative section of my brain. 5 things that I do when I'm not feeling creative. 5 things that I do when I don't know what to do next and I want to reach out to someone for help. Now keep in mind, these are my personal practices, and chances are not all of these will apply to you, but some of them might. And also it might inspire other ideas that more cater to you. The first one is the simplest and the easiest, and probably the one I do most often, and that is go on a walk. I started doing this like 6 months ago, which is a real shame. I should have been doing it we've lived here for like 4 years now. But we live on a block that's not a through street, so there's rarely cars driving around. It's super peaceful. I love doing it at midnight, actually. When I'm trying to plan out my next day and I don't know what to do, I'll go out and I'll go on a walk in silence. And there's something about the movement, about the fresh air, about stepping out of my element, where if I'm on the couch, my habit is to pull out my phone and look at Twitter. When I'm walking around, I don't feel the need to do that. I can just turn off my concerns and let my mind wander and come up with ideas. Number 2 is very different from number 1, and maybe you don't have to take it this specifically, but learn a new language. And I'm sure none of you were expecting that, but I actually take 2 Japanese lessons a week on a Skype call. And while none of my content revolves around Japanese in any way, it is another situation where I'm forcing my brain to think in a way that it doesn't normally think. And it stretches that muscle, and it's almost like it shakes things up. You know when like you get that like the box of granola and like it's nothing but like the really flaky stuff on top, and you shake it up and the chunks come to the top? That's kind of what I'm doing. I should actually get rid of that entire analogy. That was so stupid. But forcing myself to do something that my brain hasn't been trained to do for the last 30 years is kind of like a reset button for me. So if you can find some kind of challenging practice that forces you to think in ways you don't normally think, I would recommend it. Speaking of languages, number 3 is travel somewhere. I mean, naturally, the place that I'm always interested in going the most is Japan, so I can actually use the language I'm learning, but not everyone can buy a ticket to Japan on a whim. And that's not what I mean. I mean, get out of your house, get out of your space where all your habits lie, go somewhere for a single night, get a super cheap Airbnb an hour away from home, and be out of your element for an extended period of time. It's amazing how that can help you disconnect from the day-to-day mundane redundancy. I think 2 weeks ago, Kenzie and I drove about 4 hours south to stay at a little resort and chill by a pool and go on walks and really accomplish almost nothing. I mean, I wouldn't say that I dropped an album that weekend, but I ended up making content that I didn't normally make. We were at the same golf course that High School Musical 2 was shot on, and I remade a scene from the movie. I'm gonna have to do it with no audio, but I'll do the video side by side. I don't want to get copyright striked on this. Just that break from the norm was a very, very helpful weekend for me. Number 4 is another one of my favorites. It is watch other creators. People keep saying they want to be a good content creator, but they don't know where to start. If you want to learn to be a good content creator, consume lots of content. Chefs eat lots of things. You need to consume creativity if you want to be creative, and not just your favorite creators. Watch people that you normally wouldn't watch and challenge yourself to find something in that content that you can emulate, that you actually really like. Maybe in this whole video of something that doesn't interest you, maybe there was one element that actually drew you in a little bit. Recognize those things. Or even further than that, try to reverse engineer the videos and really try to put yourself in the perspective of the creator. And let me explain what I mean by that. One of my favorite creators to do this with is Michael Reeves, who is the guy who terrifies everyone around him by making slicey robots or tasers or taser tables, whatever they are. But his videos have a very low budget feel to them. They don't have crazy cameras and lighting. He just kind of sets it up and goes. But when you try to reverse engineer his videos, it's amazing how much time and thought he puts into it, whether it's his own narration that he's interacting with, or he's shooting shot by shot by shot to do stop motion and add his own sound effects to it, which he's gonna have to go through, edit it, watch it later, and add those one by one. Recognizing these practices that other creators go through for their content will not only give you ideas for yours, but it'll also inspire you to go directions that you may not have before. And number 5, another favorite, I feel like I said that on every one. Of course they're my favorites. These are my 5 favorite things. Build something. And that could be, again, a piece of content that you weren't expecting to build. Like, again, that golf course video was something I built. But also, if you're a crafty person or even not a crafty person, build something with your hands. The amount of time I've spent YouTubing and Googling how certain things work so I could build or modify them myself when I had no prior knowledge, that list is very long. I built my own guitar amp, not only a guitar amp, but a guitar amp with lights in it that bright up lighter the louder I play. I built my own SCUF controller. In fact, do I even have that stuff? It's somewhere. It's broken, but I learned to use a laser cutter and a soldering iron, and how to, there were dip switches coming out of the back so I could make the 2 buttons anything I wanted. I had no idea how to do any of that before I started, but it's another way to break the norm and train your brain to do something that it had never done before. And more importantly than that, the sense of accomplishment when you finish is a feeling that nobody can just tell you. You can't just convince someone that they are capable. You have to convince yourself by accomplishing something. And that's what building something does. Being able to hold in my hand something that I made that before I started I had no idea how to make is one of the most fulfilling feelings I've ever had. But look, we got a little bit deep in this video, but to anybody out there who has sent me an email asking for any extra tips, this is not a video saying you will never make it. This is a video saying to all the people who have ever emailed me for that if you want to be a creator, you need to be willing to fail a lot. Like many, many times, and consider every failure a learning experience, something that you have learned now that other creators who haven't failed that way never got to learn, and that gives you an edge. And as always, happy streaming. How many of you guys want to know how to grow on Twitch? All right. Wrong button.